sharing a reading experience. I'm reading from the book entitled For James, and I'm sharing it with you now. Today I'll go through the chapter called The Bible Problem. I hope you listen and receive something worthwhile from this. This video might inspire you to read this book. It's my hope that you'll search from the best books and gain information and ideas to help you to become a better person. The more you read, the better you'll think. And the better you think, the more you'll be able to face life's challenges successfully. The Bible problem. Language is an abstract thing. Words represent ideas that we have in our head. It's very imprecise at times, and any discussion is limited by language. Since God is beyond the limits of the world, He is also beyond the limits of the human tongue. This is the problem when we read the Bible. For example, when I read, "Heap hot coals upon his head," I'm thinking to myself, that person is going to have further testimony brought against them, sending them further into hell. As it turns out, that phrase doesn't mean that at all. It's almost the opposite. Apparently, this was a saying well understood long ago, which referred to a person publicly acknowledging they were wrong. The ancient Egyptians would get a piece of clay tile or a clay bowl and put a piece of smoldering wood charcoal in the container and then put the vessel with the smoldering wood on their head. The smoldering wood was like a billboard on a busy street that says, "Sorry, Karen, I promise never to do it again." And even if you do have a basic understanding of how those around you communicate, you know they aren't being totally clear. I'm reminded of a time when the followers of Plato gathered to discuss, what is a human being? The only thing the followers of Plato could agree on was that a human being is a featherless biped. Everyone seemed to agree until Diogenes the cynic presented them with a live plucked chicken and loudly declared, "Behold, I present you with a human being." To make matters worse, we come from a different world than those who wrote the Bible. We do not share in their experiences, nor do we understand the way they lived. Take the modern day phrase, "she's hot" and "he's cool." These words have nothing to do with the temperature of the person referred to, but will people understand that 2,000 years from now? To understand the words I write, you need to know how I see and understand things. The things that really drives me bananas is when people try to put today's standards on yesterday's history. When we read something from the near past or distant past, we need to do our best to be aware of such things as local attitudes, their cultural idiosyncrasies, their frame of reference, their historical background, what is going on around them, who they are, and why one word is used above another, so we can get the clearest picture possible. The correct context is the context of the one who has done the writing, not the context of the one who's doing the reading. While we're reading, we must do our best to properly interpret the context of the writing by also laying aside our biased beliefs, our current life situation, current cultural clashes, and personal opinions. You can't properly understand the Bible when you are making it conform to your experiences and ideas that would be foreign to biblical writers. Again, you must understand what was intended by the original writers, not what you would like the pages to say. With this in mind, I would like to remind everyone that, except for a few paragraphs in Exodus and Deuteronomy, the Bible was not written by God, but rather it was largely written by men inspired by God. Being a man, I'm fairly certain there was a large number of disconnects as God communicated with the people of the Bible. As such, the Bible was written using the understanding of men, not God. The Bible was also written in a language that started out with a word bank of only about 8,000 distinct words and combinations of words and variants less than 20,000. So it's impossible to be precise and as expressive as many modern languages, having upwards of 500,000 words or more. Because of this, it's not likely that the people of the Bible could give any kind of a technical or scientific explanation for things. People who stoop to theorizing the Bible as exposing the Ark and the Covenant as a stolen alien weapon and giant space aliens visiting primitive cultures are more interested in shocking and entertaining you than having you understand what the Bible is really saying. What we read into stuff has always amazed me. The people of the Bible wrote from their perspective of what they knew from their own simple life and nothing more. They could not have comprehended the things we think about, and we do not comprehend in the same way as they did. The Bible was not written with our contemporary society in mind. The Bible was not written with our tastes and biases. The writers of the many scrolls of the Bible were in communication with their own type of people who understood things in a certain way that's foreign to modern readers. The early church that was established in Rome picked out from the hundreds of scrolls available a few of the scrolls they liked and combined them in a bound library we call the Bible. Just because we can read the translations of these authors of the Bible doesn't mean that we know where they're coming from. With this in mind, does it surprise you that it drives me crazy that people want to take a spiritually interpretive work and try to read it literally and then expect it to be perfect? Take the phrase living water talked about in John 4:10. You might say, living water means the drink, H2O. Someone else says, no, it's really referring to the Sea of Galilee because of all those fish people eat. Still, in other states, it's the spiritual perfection of baptism. If you take the spiritual writings of the Bible and try to interpret it with your own understanding, rather than an open spiritual heart, you will fail to understand the intent of the Bible that it tries to put forth from your own flawed interpretation. Ultimately, the scriptures are primarily about God, not you. That's the problem. People make the Bible about their views. That's been the problem all along. Back before there were printing presses, people had to copy the Bible by hand. And every time they did, they either made mistakes or put down what they thought was a better way of phrasing it. Let me just give you one example of how the people have changed the Bible over the years. Ezekiel 1:1 starts out, now it came to pass in the 13th year, in the 4th month, in the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives by the river Kiba, the heavens were opened, and I saw a vision of God. Notice that this verse is written in first person. Two verses down in Ezekiel 1:3, it says, the word of the Lord came expressly unto Ezekiel, the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of the Chaldeans, by the river Chebar, and the hand of the Lord was there upon him. Notice that what is being written is now written in third person. The next verse of Ezekiel 1:4 goes, and I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fine enfolding itself, and the brightness was about it. And out of the midst thereof, as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire. Notice how the verse switched back to first person. This switching back and forth from first person to third person and then back to first person indicates that at least two people are writing this. It appears to me that someone made an editorial note that later became verse 3. Experts know that the Apostle Paul was a major contributor to the New Testament. They actually don't know who wrote the other parts, even though they're attributed to other people, such as Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. So, what does this all mean to a true seeker? Does this mean you can't trust the Bible? No. What it means is that flawed people with experience with a flawless heavenly presence wrote it. And flawed people are reading this holy writing and trying to understand it. You need to keep these flaw-ridden people in mind when exploring spiritual writings. All holy writings are like a map. They can be very helpful, but they are not the real thing. Today we have things like e-maps that assist you with a pleasant sounding voice, but the traditional map is paper and colored ink that gives you an idea of what's out there. However, neither of these types of maps are the actual roads, fields, streams, or the mountains you want to get to. To get anywhere that you've never been before, you need some sort of map. But the map is not the destination. The Bible is a map. It tells you that God is out there and men have had experiences with him. But the Bible is not the infallible, perfect, all-knowing thing that you're looking for. We worship God, not the Bible. The Bible can give us valuable insight about starting our trip in developing a relation with God. That relationship with God should be our destination. You can have the same experiences just like those people talked about in the Bible who were touched by God, but you need to actually start your trip rather than reading about it. I wish you the best in your happy readings. Thank you for joining me. Until next time, goodbye, Nancy, wherever you are.